Hello everyone, am I audible? If anyone can just message and let me know if I'm audible. Hello everyone, am I audible? Can you hear me? Okay, thank you so much. So we'll just start the session in a few minutes. We will wait for Gunjan to join. I'll be introducing Gunjan in a while, but I'll just give you an idea about what this session is all about. So as you all know, at Swarasya, we talk of beauty from the 5-dimensional perspective. We talk of beauty as the aspect of your outer self, and then it keeps going deeper to your inner self. So ultimately, you start with your outer sheath, which is your, outermost self, which is your body, your physical self, and which is created by the foods and the kind of foods that you consume. The second kind of sheath that we talk about, or the layer that actually fuels your beauty from inside, from that radiance. Somebody who's very magnetic and who come across as a very attractive kind of a personality, that is kind of fueled by your inner layer, which is your energy level. So at a very common man level, we can understand it from the aspects of your energy levels, like how do you feel, and at certain point in time, what are your energy levels. The third sheet that we talk about is about emotions. Of course, we know, you kind of tend to look very dull when you are not in a very good state of emotions, or your moods are not very good. But there is a science behind how stress ages you, how ultimately those wrinkles and that level of aging that you see on the skin for a lot of people is a lot to do with the kind of emotions that are working at the back of it. And then a little more deeper as you go, you reach a place which is the level of your self-realization, which is nothing but your consciousness. There are certain things that you may be doing right or you may not be doing right in your routine, but then you don't listen to yourself, and then you just give in into all those all those temptations that come your way. So self-realization is an aspect of you telling you always what is right and what is not right for you, and it's the deeper connect with yourself. And ultimately, the fifth dimension that we talk about is your energy levels, how do you feel, and how that energy from the physical till all the 4 layers that we've talked about plays a strong role, and to kind of balance your body from within. So a beautiful body is a balanced body. If I have to just summarize all of it in one line, it is beauty is nothing but a state of balance inside the body, and balance at all levels of being, like the physical level, the emotional level, mental level, and ultimately reaching to a stage where you actually, irrespective of whatever temptations keep coming your way, you still choose not to get onto the wrong way, because now you understand, you're self-realized, you know what is good for you and what is not good for you, what is not working for you. So these are the 5 dimensions. Now the topic that we have for today is related to the second layer, which is about which is about the energy, the pranic level, which is where actually everything transforms from within. So very difficult for us to for a common man rather, to understand how for us, skin is what we see, hair is what we see, or body is what we see, but at a certain level, all these things are combined together, or bloom at their best form only when you have a certain level of energy inside the body. Now this energy, again from a common man perspective, we understand it from the level of feelings, like how do you feel, you feel sad, you feel happy, you feel, so that's where we relate to it. But there is a lot going on at the deeper level, or the pranic level, which is more of a science of prana, how Ayurveda and yoga sciences define about this sheath, or this layer of you being there. So this topic is about the second layer, which is about the pranic sheath, and somebody who's been practicing yoga or the pranic kind of practices actually understand this concept very, very well. And that's the reason we have Gunjan today, who's an expert into pranic practice of yoga, which is the Kundalini Yoga. So we'll just wait for her to join. She'll be taking us deeper into how these sheaths join together, how prana joins all these sheaths together. And of course, we expect to have some practices from her, which we can do on a daily basis, or we can practice even if we are not expert into it. Still we can delve into this science and gradually get to understand how it works, and bring about a lot of changes within ourselves, not at just at the physical level, but at various levels of you, like your health starting to get better, you're starting to feel good and well. So that's how everything comes together. So till the time Gunjan is there, I will just introduce Gunjan and her profile. Gunjan is a Kundalini Yoga practitioner and a yoga teacher for last 13 years. She's a certified yoga teacher and is certified into various other yoga lineages also. She is a yoga teacher, hatha yoga teacher. She's also educated into vinyasa karma, which is another form of yoga, and also transformational yoga coach. She has written various publications and has been featured on NDTV, on Fit Rahe India as one of the yoga experts. She also takes various energy therapy classes, and also, she's a known yoga teacher in a lot of corporates, and she believes in living in her own truth. So we'll just see if, let me just check if Gunjan is there. Hi Gunjan, I guess you are there with us. If you could just help me understand, if you've sent me a join request. Okay, it's there. Thank you.
Yes, I did. I'm here, right
Hi
here.
Gunjan, hi. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good, great. And it's so nice to see you. Like I have been listening to you for a very long time. I guess my first experience with you had been at one of the wellness events at Vitality Hours, I believe. I don't remember the name exactly, but yeah. So
Last
I
year,
guess
maybe.
yes. So I visited that event, and it was really nice. Because I had just started to delve into deeper into yoga, rather, I would say. And that's where the ideas and the concepts that you brought in were like really appealing to me. But then everything started to join together or come together when we got into Swarasya and created this five-dimensional approach to beauty, where we talk of everything. We talk of foods and physical self. We talk of prana. So we go layer by layer inside, like starting from your physical sheath, going on to your pranic sheath, then going on deeper to your emotional sheath, and then delving deeper into your consciousness, and ultimately moving on to the concept of energy, which kind of joins all these concepts together. So, Gunjan, over to you. Like, just help us understand what is Kundalini Yoga and how did you get into it?
Okay, so my first thing to saying, sharing on Kundalini Yoga would be that the practice I do, Kundalini Yoga, there are ways and there are forms and schools of Kundalini Yoga. The
Okay.
practice I incorporate, and I have been practicing for over a decade, more than that, and I teach, is from the school of Yogi Bhajan. And that practice in Kundalini Yoga is a trinity of movement, mantras, and breath. When we
Okay.
incorporate our movement, which means the asana practice, the hatha yoga, and
Mm-hmm.
it becomes a movement. So a posture can just continue to be a movement rather than sitting still.
Okay.
Movement mantras, we add mantras as we do this practice. So mantras can be any mantras as given in the philosophy of this practice.
Okay.
And then the breath work, movement mantras and the breath. So you are consciously using your breath side by side as you are practicing. That is what gives you the experience of this lineage of Kundalini Yoga. Coming to the lineages of yoga, because there are so many, and there are the lineage and different schools of yoga, Hatha Yoga, Vinyasa Yoga, then we have Kundalini Yoga,
Mm-hmm.
and coming to various other lineages, the ultimate aim for every yoga lineage is to come to the Kundalini. Now, since I practice various other therapies and modalities, I question everything. I do question if there is energy like Kundalini energy really, or is it just a name given?
Okay.
Yes, however, that is the energy which is innately sitting in us. Now, when that energy systematically moves in the body,
Mm-hmm.
that is what starts to change our entire life. And with life, I mean all the layers, like you were mentioning, of the five
Mm-hmm.
sheets. And, we bring them in Ayurveda, Panch Koshas, and, all of
Exactly.
those things which we start to bring in. How does that energy begin to change? So for me, that is a practical experience of life change when you are
Mm-hmm.
working your energy systematically. So Kundalini Yoga is that energy, systematic energy. You can call it the creator's energy. You can name
Okay.
it anything, but you have
Exactly.
to really experience it to know what it is.
That's true.
So when you do your movements correctly and when your breath work is correct and when you're doing mantras, mantras take away the pattern of the mind. That's what it does. So when we chant mantras and we engage the mind in another mantra, so we have mantras every day. Oh, I don't look good. Oh, I'm fat.
Oh, that's a
Oh,
mantra? I mean, like
these are
keep
this
reciting
becomes
things
like
to yourself.
exactly. So what
Right.
is the mantra you're giving yourself basically?
Mm-hmm.
Mantras, even if you use, the example, a mantra Om, or if
Mm-hmm.
you use a mantra I am, and just see when I say this, what is the energy of those words and what is the energy of the mantra? That which changes the brain pattern
Mm-hmm.
and that which can change eventually. See, when your body is moving in a certain energy, it starts to release it. Then you're constantly now how are you going to engage in yoga, body, mind, and soul? When you start to change the rhythm of your mind, your entire body will automatically start
That's
to
very true.
experience that change,
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
So it's all interconnected. Actually called yoga. It was never yoga. We add a, right? The
Yes,
Sanskrit word
that's
is
more of a
originally
Western
yoga,
way of
is the
calling
Western
it.
way
Yeah,
of it, and yoga is the way it is.
the real word.
So,
Yes.
so that is what is Kundalini Yoga. Just this
Okay.
underlying energy.
Okay.
People call
And
it a coil and all of that.
yes. So, I mean, if I go by your profile, you're educated into different kinds of yogic practice. It's not just Kundalini, but why was it that, this kind of got your attention? Like the other forms, which I guess a lot of people are attracted to. And I don't think a lot of people actually get into the Kundalini side of it. Most of them are associated with either Hatha or most of it is Vinyasa, like the flow and the activity and aggressiveness, that form of yoga. So what made
Yeah.
you, get into this form of yoga?
So when I started yoga practice, it was about 18 years ago. Clearly, my eldest son, who's 18 plus now. So
Okay.
when I actually, it's about 17 years, when he was a few months old, and I'll quickly share a recap, of this pain in the body I was experiencing in my shoulder and all of that. So I was told start yoga. And when I went for yoga, it may happen with a lot of people, but when I went for my first class, it felt like a samskara, past life
Mhm.
imprint came into my life. And I felt I've done this before and I have experienced this. So that was my first experience of a vinyasa class. I
Okay.
started with vinyasa practice. And then after vinyasa practice, I was in and out like a little bit,
Mhm.
changing schedules, little child who's not even 1 year old and stuff. And I had to travel quite a distance every day, about 10 kilometers. I would drive every day.
Okay. And at that time, I
Uh,
guess yoga was not a very, not many people were into it. It's like
no,
18
there
years is
was.
like,
So when you go to these groups, you realize, oh, there are people who are doing it. It's
but
just
not at a
that we don't
common
know.
level. Yes.
Not at a
Yeah.
common level,
Yeah.
not at this level, which
Yes.
COVID has given us now.
Yes,
I
exactly. And I guess
thank
it
COVID for
started
that.
with a lot of
Yeah,
things definitely to thank COVID too. I guess a lot of people could, kind of understand and see the benefits also out of it.
exactly. Somebody I just attended, I was in my morning sessions, and I was just sharing with this person. I said, do you realize the power of breath now? The
Mhm.
power of living now, And the only gift we have is our breath work. And, I'm
Yes.
such a, I'm like I would say I would completely go by this advertisement all the time. If I had to give one placard, I would say,
About
breathe,
breath.
breathe, breathe,
Yes, so this is what happens, in my practice also. Like, of course, like my majorly, I'm getting into, I deal with macrobiotics and the science of food energies and all that. But when the clients come in, the first question is which is that best food that can bring about this kind of a change or that kind of a change. Um, my first answer to it is, just go by how a human life enters the world. A newborn baby for minutes or for few hours is just on the breath, and then some part of liquid for a few months gets into his body, and after maybe a certain while, after a few months, the solids are introduced. So there is some signal the nature is giving you. Start with breath, move on to liquids, and then move on to the food. So foods are important, but then it doesn't lie on the top of the hierarchy. It's somewhere at the third level. So breath of course is important. The high time we start understanding the importance of breath.
So we always see if the child is gasping, if the child is taking its own breath, and we realize the child is independent and can lead this life. It's just that we don't realize it over a period of time and we get dependent on other factors around us.
Yes.
Do not realize the only factor you had to come in this world was your breath.
Breath.
And that is
True.
the only thing which will keep you alive right now.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, coming to your question and how different lineages, I am a practitioner and a certified practitioner in Hatha Yoga, in transformational yoga, and in Vinyasa Krama. That too by a beautiful teacher. He's a living master still, Sri Srivatsa Ramaswamy. So
Okay.
all of these courses are amazing. I've done them, and I love practicing Iyengar yoga. I'm a big fan of Iyengar yoga. I practice once in a week with my teacher.
Wow.
However, what happens is that, when I started my journey, say, when 17 years ago, when I was doing yoga, I would love to share this with these people, that
Definitely. Please, we would love to know that.
so when I was doing yoga already and I had pains and aches, not that they really went away, but my mind, my philosophy, I think something in my mind started stirring, right? As you practice yoga, you start to see your body open up more, your mind starts to change. Then came a point when, in the midst of the practices and all, I came to a point where I had a lot of deficiencies. And this happened, and then, because you're a food therapist, I see you as that, macrobiotics and everything.
Yeah.
So and that time there was this therapy about food, and I'm not going to, um, uh, who or what I did with, but I had that I started getting deficiencies, and this was right after my first child, who was about not even a year old. Then I
Okay.
realized over the period of time that it was too early for me to ever think of dietary changes, because I
That's
didn't
true.
allow my body to naturally get back its nourishment through its
Yeah.
own tissues, dhatus and everything had to just nourish through the right food.
Right.
One part was that, but on the other hand, what happened was that the deficiencies became so severe. My B12 deficiencies and everything became severe that I was on the verge of MS, where I was losing balance of my arms and legs, and I was not able to
Okay.
feel the energy in them. Sensations were going away. And when you experience that, you wake up one morning and you tell your husband that, can you move my arm? I don't even know if I have an arm,
Oh, it was
so
that stage you had
it was
reached?
that severity, a
Okay.
severe stage. And I
Okay.
would have fear of falling, because I needed his help to walk. I couldn't walk by myself. And
Okay.
these things began to happen, and by grace of God, I'm a believer in alternate medicine, so I took whatever was required at that time. And then I started my little bit of yoga practice again with a teacher at home, and he came and he felt that I was very passionate about it. So he guided me and he said, go to the International Yoga Festival in Rishikesh. I
Okay.
said, okay. I was very keen, but leaving a child back, 3-year old, and not sure. I've never been to Rishikesh on my own. It's a really flamboyant place for everyone. So luckily, I went there out of
Okay.
a bit of a hassle in my head. Should I not? And I landed up when I heard somebody saying at the station saying, don't go to a Kundalini yoga class, you may end up in a mental asylum. I overheard some foreigner saying that, and I heard it and I was elated. I said, this is where I
That was
have
a
to go.
common notion. I guess a lot of, and like even before you think of Kundalini, this is the first thing that's being told to you. Like, that energy can just
Yeah.
make you go crazy.
Go hey bye. And
Yeah.
that actually inspired me. Maybe I was the
Okay.
opposite one. And I said, oh my God, I'm
Okay.
anyways dying inside. I should just go for this class,
Wow, that's nice. But it's not easy.
And
Like for me also, when I started yoga, I cannot actually still, I mean, I don't think I have that courage to think about getting into Kundalini because, better to just work with your body and, other forms rather than having that thought in the mind that this can make you go crazy. So, you really have
so
to
yeah,
go beyond it.
that's what I love to share. What is the difference between some lineages, different
Okay.
lineages? And as
Okay.
much as they are all precious, I'm an
Mm-hmm.
ardent fan of yoga and I
Mm-hmm.
respect every teacher. All of them are very precious for me.
Yes.
Everyone has a different calling, though. The
Style.
path, somebody has one path leading, somebody likes alternate medicine, somebody likes the conventional medicine, somebody likes, whatever. But
Right.
they're all still wanting to be healthy. That's
True.
all. So when I came to this class, and my teacher, who we were 100 people, and she started telling us to bring your arms behind you. So we had our arms behind like this, and you
Mm-hmm.
had to go up and down. Okay, so you have to keep moving up and down. Okay, and I
Okay.
was at a stage where I was not even balanced in my body. Okay,
Because of your
and
deficiencies.
of my deficiencies. So,
Right.
I was accompanied by my cousin, an older cousin who would take care of me. Apparently, that's how my family allowed me to go. I was married and I was, not such a child. I
Right.
started doing that work in my class, 11 minutes of moving my body. I did not
Mm-hmm.
know where the strength came from, and I never looked back. That was my
Wow.
first experience of experiencing what is energy within me.
Energy.
without logic. This is what I wanted to come to. This Kundalini Yoga, whenever you come to a session of Kundalini Yoga, you leave your logic with your shoes outside. Because you will not get a logic and you will not get a disciplinary practice of standing in postures and making yourself stretch, doing a breath work this way, which I love equally, like I said, because it's a shift for me. The difference is Kundalini Yoga is a kind of yoga which will not tell you to go into your logical part of the body anymore. You can't sit there and say, oh, my chakra is working. You can't say, oh, this chakra started moving.
Yes.
It's an experience.
It's more of an experiential thing, yes.
It's
Right.
an experience. And when that experience happens, with what was moving, what was not moving, eventually it will just start to change. That is a evidence of what your practice is. And this is what the practice did for me. My way of concluding at that point of time until now is that I felt I came home with this practice. I did not know what home meant, but I really meant home in my heart center. Something in my heart exploded, and that's what Kundalini, the notion, or the belief of Kundalini is. Some people say it sits at your navel chakra.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, some masters have said that Kundalini actually arises from your Nabhi. My
Right.
master used to say, the journey of this life is if you can just journey from your Nabhi to your heart, your journey is complete.
That's all you need.
And we take all of our lifetime to be able to even come to that is so hard. So whatever may happen for me may not happen for somebody, or vice versa. And I took that as my sign. And there I saw different schools give me a lot of great energy. They give me a lot of structural benefits. They give me a stillness, slow and steady. To me, for me personally, with Kundalini Yoga, I feel the intensity with the way we do it and the way we use our breath work, that gets me to the experience I'm looking for faster. Because there is so much stimulation of the energy and the breath work. Now, there also is stillness in all of this chaos your body is going through. So again, I can't describe it for everybody, but the way my teacher always puts
It's more
it
of an
is,
experience,
Kundalini
as you
is an
said.
experience. And she would always say,
And
even
experience
if you
doesn't have a
to,
logic.
and she would say, if you're coming to Kundalini class, please never sit back and watch people. If you come to a class like this, you make sure you're moving yourself. There is a reason. There is a reason, because each person is releasing a lot of energy at that time. But the belief of going, like losing it, that's a fearful belief people have about Kundalini. I really want to share that is that if you do it with a teacher, with guidance, you will never have to experience that loony stuff. And there is a certain protocol we are given as teachers. Like if I have my set of manuals the master gave, the master knew, like every, Granth and Vedant, when we read it, the philosophy they knew what they are telling us. So in Kundalini Yoga, the master knew what will be the result of this particular set of exercises for these people. So the results were predetermined. And when it came into its beginning, the Kundalini Yoga, which started in the West, like a lot of masters went to the West, and that's where the teachings began much more. It was the Gypsy era. So the people were really on drugs and having a great time. And so when people started coming to a class like Kundalini Yoga and they felt the high, they weren't sure what was giving them a high. They thought they had effects of the after drug or something.
Okay.
And then they continued visiting those classes, and they realized
that was a blessing in disguise, I suppose.
Absolutely. That's how my teacher was, who's now 78-year-old, who's been teaching for 55 years. A radiant, powerful woman who is so active. So she, for me, is a living practitioner of what she did with her teacher. And very clear protocols are, as teachers, I would say that's the only thing I always make sure is when you practice with a teacher, make sure what is her certification in this category.
Because I guess this is the only lineage of yoga where you have to be very sure of with whom you're learning with, because it's directly dealing with your energy. It's all about energy flow and regulation and balance inside the body.
Absolutely, and what happens is that when we go and train, we see a lot of things happening, and it's not like life threatening. What happens is it's energy. You know how energy can flow. So if
Yes.
you are taken in, if you're with the right, correct guidance,
Mm-hmm.
and one is watching over you, you're in safe hands. It's like, you're getting a surgery and you're with a doctor. At the
Right.
end result, we don't know, but you'd still know that you're in hands who knows their job right now. So I highly advise that, because I have seen in my experience what happens is when we don't go by the protocol of the teachers, that's when people start to
That's where
suffer.
the problem happens. That's very true. That's true.
100%, 100%. I think that goes with any study. You know that too,
That's
right?
what
With
that.
any study.
Yeah,
If,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
So what
That's
would you
really
like to
nice.
know
I mean,
more?
no. Okay, so I guess no, you've given us a good starting and good understanding about, I guess, because this was one of the questions from the audience, like, what is the difference between this form of yoga and other forms of yoga? So you've already answered that. I guess I would just move on to more towards the radiant side of it, like, as because this is the concept that we have been really talking about, that people really need to start to look beyond their skin and get deeper into their own self to realize that acne happening to you or that those wrinkles happening to you it's not an external phenomena. It's being all created from inside. And prana has a great role to play because emotions play around with your prana, your foods play around with your prana, your daily choices play around with your prana, your the daily activities, the way you choose to live your life on a daily basis, plays around. So everything comes back to prana, and this is one form of yoga that you're practicing, which is dealing with balancing or regulating prana. So how is prana directly, as a subtle force, directly related to somebody's appearance or radiance per se, or how a person looks and feels? So what is that connect there?
So prana is your life force. As simple. Prana is what gives you life. That's the force.
Yeah.
Like I said in the beginning, when your energy moves systematically, when your prana flows systematically, you are working skin deep. Then you're not working on the surface with an acne cream. Then you're
Right.
working deep down into your bone marrow. That's where you start to work. And then that's what will start to automatically change. So when coming to now, I think people are always keen to know about chakras in
Yes.
Kundalini Yoga. The way I always bring my classes is that I never go by the chakras, because
Okay.
it's something very people get very their whole focus is about chakra balancing. See, chakra balancing is a
Energy
automatic
balance.
side
Yeah.
effect. It's a side effect. It's a great
Okay.
side effect of this practice. What
Okay.
starts to happen is that when you start to move that energy, say if we're doing a practice today, I'm giving you an example. Say we'll do, I work on the spine today. So we work a
Mm-hmm.
lot on the spine anyways, because the belief of the spine energy
Yes.
and stuff,
Right.
and the serum reaching the brain. Now that's a scientific concept.
Right.
It's not from some place like somebody said it and believe it. It's science. You have the serum moving up your spine, it reaches the brain, you're more clear, your mental clarity is better. And what happens is that you're automatically, what happens, the flow of the energy as it goes through the whole body, your organ system starts to get better. Now, when I'm talking a little bit about chakras here, because I know it's always intriguing for people, is let's say if
Mm-hmm.
you're working, like started with the spine. Now, the spine start at the base of the spine, the root where we sit. Okay,
Right.
the mool bandha, the mool dhara comes there. Now, when you're constantly working, like this is one exercise we do, and I know you will ask me eventually. So we just sit and do this work, and people find it is a regular exercise. Well, we call it spinal flex, like you're literally sitting on a camel. Do it for three
Okay.
minutes every day. And I'm going to go a little back. So,
Yeah.
when
Please
you
help
sit
us
on your
understand this,
chair,
I guess. Yeah.
when you're sitting on a chair, for example, and you start with your spine, I'm going to show sideways. So when you
Mm-hmm.
inhale, you go forward. You take this dent in your back here. Okay.
Okay.
Your heart center goes forward. Now, when you exhale, you round your spine. Okay. You inhale and exhale.
Is it
I'm
something like
keeping
a
my
sitting cat cow, cat
It's
dog,
exactly
sitting cat?
exactly like a sitting cat cow. You can call it anything. We call it
Mm-hmm.
spinal flex. And when you do
Okay.
this work, what starts to happen is you start to stimulate the root. Now, when you
Okay.
stimulate your root chakra is the one with all the you know explanations. I would say I don't know
Mm-hmm.
the reality and the myth around it really. But they say that, the root chakra is your foundation. It gives you the strength to trust in yourself. It also gives you the strength that you have your back. I mean, that you're really taking care of yourself. Financially, when people are in a deeper state, in a bad state, their lower backs get affected. So that's the root chakra. Now we work like that in science, in Kundalini science. We start to work on their root. So they start to first trust their self. Okay.
Some
And
experience
then
happens.
slow and steady. Yes. So slow and steady, though I'm completely lost right now with your question, but slow and steady
No
as this
problem.
energy moves through the centers and it further comes up, it starts to open out the blocks from the body. It's a very natural process of the body. So even it's not different when somebody is asked here, I know Iyengar yoga. Now what happens is Iyengar yoga is when you're in a posture, the initial classes I remember with my teacher, you're not focusing on the breath. You only focus on the posture. Because in that belief, the posture itself will start to take care of the
Bring
movement of the
about.
energy, which is not happening and circulation is not happening. In Kundalini Yoga, we do not push you in postures. We don't tell you, oh, this has to be this way. We tell you to focus on your breath. Then your breath starts to take you away from the mind pattern also, because you constantly told yourself a story that I can't do this because my back is weak.
But
And
Gunjan,
then
help me understand one thing, like when we practice asanas and then when we get into a breathing practice, the breathing is much easier rather than for somebody who's had a more of a sedentary kind of a lifestyle, who one day decides, let me just start working on my breath. Doesn't come very naturally because maybe your posture may not be right or your alignment internally may not be right. There could be blockages, so which is already blocking the flow of prana. So without working on asanas directly, getting to pranic practices, how easy is that?
So we are not directly working on pranic practices. We work with the asanas and the pranic practices.
Okay.
So when you are in the asana, say if I say that, let's inhale forward, let's exhale as we go back. So you are doing the posture, but you're also being guided how to use your breath. So the person, a basic simple breath is through the nostril. I'm not going to tell you start to inhale and expand your navel. No, I can't tell you
Okay,
while you're
okay.
doing this. I will
Right.
just say focus on the breath at the nostril. Just inhale through the nose and exhale. What is it? Inhale is, you feel warm air going in. Exhale, you feel that, the cold air is,
Right.
cold air is coming out, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's the other way. So when you take in, it's colder, like सांस एकदम ठंडा आ रहा है, you leave it, you
Right.
get a warmer breath. And you just focus on moving your body. Now what happens is I'm taking you away from a pattern of the mind. And then you start to also hear the mantras alongside. Your mind will start to create a new pattern. And you're not being hypnotized. You're constantly going within with your eyes closed. And you probably have never experienced that, because otherwise, what happens is, see, what I see is that when I'm in a posture, I'm only focusing on my posture. I focus on my posture.
Yes.
When you're moving and you're in a rhythm of Kundalini Yoga, you're not focusing on anything. All you're going to do is you're being told inhale and exhale. Inhale
You
forward
just flow
and
with the
exhale
rhythm.
back. Now,
Is that
where
how
will
it
they?
happens? You just keep flowing with the rhythm of
Exactly.
it. Okay.
Absolutely. And then you're, of course, checked on if a person has a high blood pressure, somebody is pregnant, which is, of course, my prenatal classes, or somebody is feeling dizzy. Somebody has, recently with COVID, you have a tighter and you still feel the pain. So we check on that and we give you exactly. So I give a lot of variations in my classes. It's
Right.
a little different now. Like we had Kundalini earlier, so we are modifying a little bit more for modifications of posture, because some postures people can't do. And
Right.
likewise, in other yoga practices, we give props. So I always encourage props and I say, just stand by the wall if this is tough, or that is tough. So
Okay.
that's where it makes a difference, is your pranic energy is moving along with the posture movement. And
Okay.
even if you're sitting still and you're a first time practitioner, you will always get the modification you require as much as you can take. Because again, pointing out, somebody mentioned some lineages don't even let you do pranayam unless and until you've done enough yoga practice asanas.
Exactly. So this was exactly my point, because there's this. I don't know if that's a misconception or that's how it is, but like I guess you've just talked about this myth that otherwise also it can happen, but there's a way how you do it.
See, there's exactly, it's like I said, there are medicine, there are schools of medicine. Now, which school of medicine can take you to healing you is going to
Right.
be your journey. So
Right.
I cannot convince anyone to come to this, but I can only share what it can probably do for you, right?
Right.
So it's your choice, end of the day, which class will suit you. It's absolutely
Exactly.
your
And it
choice.
may not suit everybody also. Like, the people like you got your calling. Somebody who got their calling with this practice will stick to it. Otherwise, they might just move on.
Absolutely. I totally agree on that. And that's how even I see, if there are
Right.
days I don't want certain practice, so I go by
Exactly.
that.
That's your own flow, like, what your body wants that particular day, which keeps changing.
Absolutely. I would always do one kind of a one practice for sure in my discipline for Kundalini Yoga, whether it's a meditation every day or whether it's just mentally inhaling and exhaling to the mantra, inhale to a sat, exhale to a naam. That's a mantra given by the teacher. So I would like to kind of keep that, or it could be one thing I will keep up, and that's something that for me it's a 3 minute practice. I will just keep up with that, but that 3 minutes sometimes is life changing for
It's
me, and it's
powerful.
happened a lot in the past. Yes, yes.
Great. Now that's really interesting. So, thank you so much. I guess there's a lot of misconception. Rather for me also, I guess lot of thought process in different direction is opening up for sure with this. So, Gunjan, my next
Mm-hmm.
question would be, a lot of people like this is a common question, which is common for the people who are also going through the dietary changes, and also people who are practicing yogic practices, specifically related to the gut, like. I see a lot of course, a lot of people have now become aware how important gut health is for everything, not just for your appearance, your health, everything. Like rather for your thought process also. It's all
Absolutely.
related to your gut.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
and another thought process is that people are always looking for that one product miracle or that one food that can completely change their gut health. Um, Frankly, I would say when I got into macrobiotics, for me, that was the thought initially. Like, and it did bring about a lot of changes for me. But was that an absolute change? I would say no. It was only when I got into yoga and I understood that it's just half the science when you bring about changes with the foods, and rather not even half. 40% is the foods, and rest 60% is what you do to yourself in terms of the kind of lifestyle you live, the kind of choices you make, and the kind of practices you do to strengthen your gut system, which is a missing idea in our modern way of looking at our gut health. So, how would you, from your practice perspective, at the gut level, what would you say on that? Like, do you think that is it a misconception that you can completely change your gut health just with the foods, or you need a good, a combination of foods and exercise and routine together to keep your gut in a good condition? Because if gut is good, everything is good. Like, you'll look good also, you'll feel good also, health will be all fine. So, what's your take on that?
So I simply say, how you know your gut feeling, and gut is always taken as gut feeling. Feeling is never separate from you. The gut is not an external part of you. The gut
Okay.
is the most essential part of you inside. So if you're trying to tell yourself that your gut feeling is that your gut is good, but you're not feeling well, then probably that's where you lived your life in a denial. See, I go very deep with my understanding of practices, not just on the physical level. For me, it's a holistic
Whole
experience for
coming
a
together.
person. When,
I agree.
yes, when someone's digestive system isn't good, I ask them one question: what can't you digest about your life? Tell me, what is it that you're not able to digest in life at this point? And these things are
So
so
important.
obvious that they are, and they're very obvious. You'll actually know that you're actually not even sometimes you're not even accepting ourselves. So when you can't even digest who you are, you will the first thing which starts to affect is your gut.
Gut.
Everything starts at the gut. Your that's the and in yoga the biggest understanding of I remember my teacher would say is the first place of a dis-ease, a discomfort, is always your stomach. And that is so directly related to your mind that the minute the stomach is not feeling well, then you have to understand, go within yourself to know what's going on your mind. And sometimes we just say, बाहर गर्मी में गए थे, हमें लू लग गई होगी, हमारा
Exactly.
पेट खराब हो गया होगा. Easier said than done. If your immune system is good, if you have a stronger immune system, that will not happen. Your body has a homeostasis. It will know how to balance itself in any way. you know. And I want to share this very very openly about even COVID, because
Mm-hmm.
something which I won't even imagine or think. I had my family had COVID, all of us, with my little one.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people ask me, but you started teaching like so quickly after COVID, you were done. I said, yeah, because touch wood, like, really, I don't know, I mean, I was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And my breath was telling me on a certain day something is off, and I truly didn't realize. I thought maybe it's viral, because my breath was so clear and I could tell something's changing today, something's changing. But again, what I had to find for myself was, can I control my mind at this time? If I would not do that, that was the first thing which could affect my gut,
Exactly.
and it would completely ruin the experience of
Entire
even
experience.
that, because that was an experience,
Exactly.
purely an experience. My family recovered beautifully, everyone was well, and I'm not saying that I don't empathize with people who had a tough time. I completely do. I have family members who were unwell, who went to the hospital. I'm coming to the gut here because it's so important that you always know. Well, for me, very interestingly, what happened was I was on a detox those days. And I realized my immune system was a little lower, on the lower side, to have
Okay.
suddenly some exposure came in the air for me. It was, I
And you
didn't
picked
step
it up.
out, nothing. From home. Nothing happened outside, right? And
Okay.
that is when the whole Delhi went under lockdown and all that. But just coming back to your intuition, like, you cannot deny, like, if even if I am intuitive about something and I could tell something's different in my breath today, and I'm talking this right now because I really want everyone to, whoever is little bit joining us and share and listening, when you're in your emotions, your breath is such a powerful tool that it immediately affects the gut. Now, it may show up immediately for some people because they have had that pattern for the longest time. And please realize, in yoga, and I want to now share what Kundalini Yoga does a
Mm-hmm.
little bit in between the gut health. When you practice a certain form of yoga, your auric field, which is like 8 feet in all directions, gets strengthened. Now, what happens is, when your auric field is strong, your physical body is the last one to get affected. So I
It's a kind
realized,
of shield
yes,
around you. That
maybe
works something
it's
like
a
that.
shield, absolute shield. And it's a shield where, because even if your mental body is doing da da da, whatever it has to do, your
Mm-hmm.
physical body is the last one to get affected, because you're able to discount that all the time. You're able to release that energy most of the times. We do simple practices where we just release it in our field. And that's what I realized this time. I said, oh, it's such a simple understanding that, there is this thing happening in the air. Somewhere I probably took it in. I have a little child. I have 3 kids. And, and I just wondered, oh, oh, oh. But it didn't really come at that point where I thought, oh, maybe my immune system needed more strength. You're detoxing, you're always a little fragile, and your
Yes.
body can catch a quick infections or something. But still, the way my body helped me was tremendous. In spite
And
of fever, in
I would
spite,
just
there was
want
this,
to add one more thing here. Like,
yeah,
for you have been practicing this for last 18 years, you mentioned, right? So,
I
even one in
for over 13 years, this form of
13.
yoga. Yes, yoga for 17 years. Yes,
Okay. So,
in
you've
all.
kind of worked on your system for 17 years. So, I guess this is also one thing that I would want to focus for all the listeners, that it did not happen just because you practiced last day, or maybe in last week. It is
Not
because
at all.
you've been living that kind of a lifestyle for 17 years. So even if it was a weak immunity for a few days, that build up, or that strength is there for last 17 years. It is not 1 week strength or one
Yeah.
month strength or
See, it's a
recent
live
strength.
practice. Like I said, it's a live practice. You don't realize you get life, like you said it, right? You got life. The first thing is breathing. We don't realize it. Yoga is not about getting a great body. It's not about like, oh, I am so sexy looking. Yoga is it's a science for your own connection to yourself.
In fact,
Now, these
again, it's an
little things
experience,
which
I would
happen.
say.
Absolutely. And when these little things happen within us, and I could tell these changes were happening, and I was like, I was getting very present to it.
Hmm.
What is really going on? Do I need more medical intervention? I was only on alternate medicine and no allopathy, honestly.
During
I did
COVID,
not, because yes,
during COVID, you
during
mentioned.
COVID.
Okay.
And just for me, it worked for me. And
Hmm.
because my body has a certain, it was happy to work with that, so I continued with that. I trusted it. So I would always tell each one here, trust your bodies. Don't go helter skelter. If you take a form of yoga, I love the Vai Guruji here. Yeah, if you take a form of yoga, trust it. Don't just give it up. I would say that to everyone coming to now. That too is a gut feeling. That too is something in the gut. Something which makes you feel
Something is telling you.
really good. And sometimes we eat food and we say, oh, I love this food, but the next morning you're cramping big time because you didn't listen to the
Listen
gut.
to you.
Your
Exactly.
body is always telling you something. It's a phenomenal tool made of these 5 tattvas, which are ever present on this planet. Now you are composed of those 5 elements. How can you just cut yourself out and say, oh, this doesn't matter? Now that is what has happened to all of us. We just all, I think the planet was astray. We just all went astray at some point. We just took things for granted. And most importantly, we took ourselves for granted.
For granted.
We
And
just
but I guess
thought,
I guess this was also calling for a lot of people. Like, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but having some level of spiritual inclination, I guess it was a calling from the nature also that some things have to change. If you don't change yourself, something bigger will come and change you. So it came in this
I
form
also
maybe.
believe, absolutely, I agree with you. And nature has its own course. Nature does not care. It will take its form, and seasons will change. Now, coming to your beautiful subject of Ayurveda, how it was so proficiently given to us 5,000 years ago, and
Hmm.
how they knew every season has a blooming of certain or ripening of certain fruits and vegetables. How our bodies can adapt to it. Who was it given for? Why was it given to the nature? Who will consume it end of the day? So if we are trying to put in a gut everything which is not seasonal, and it's all one practice. You do your gut feeling, like I said, it's not an external organ. Your gut is an internal organ. Your body, when it starts to balance with the mind, you will be much more aware about your gut. Then
Yes.
if you ignore, you will suffer.
But I guess once you reach that stage,
So
you just don't want to ignore only because those feelings are so strong for you. You know for yourself. You get your direction, and I guess that's what gut feeling is all about. Like you are being guided internally by
it's a
your own self.
feeling.
Yes.
It's a feeling. And sometimes people say, I don't want to eat this, I want to eat that today. If you're so sure about it, then you will never get sick.
Yeah.
That too. If you are eating with guilt, and if you think your gut, oh my God, what will happen to me tomorrow? But I really want to have a pizza today. I simply see it these days and I just feel, what is my body really asking for? And for my understanding, I would love to share this with you all, that what helps is pranayama a lot. When my gut is not feeling too great, or I know there are certain foods I'm getting more attached to or attracted to, I love to focus on my prana. And I first silence my mind to see who is talking. Is it the mind telling me? Is it my body telling me? And you will be surprised that your mind is giving you lots of choices, fun, amazing stuff. But when you start to go into the prana, you start to be still, and you look at the same food, you may
You
not
don't
even
want it.
want it. No,
Thank you so much.
it
I guess
will,
that's a
you'll,
wonderful tip because that's the toughest thing to handle. Like, you can still you understand a lot of things and that awareness is happening. But when you are in that moment, when your, mind is telling you something's in front of you, resisting at that point in time, I guess that's the biggest challenge for a lot of us. So, once
it
like you
is.
can just
And
deviate yourself and just get still and then ask yourself whether or not you want it and then take your conscious decision.
especially before you consume your food, and if you like to drink and you like to do any of that and you have a minute, I would tell my students that when they're going through something, it could just be a food thing. I tell them, go to the toilet, sit there, and just do 1 minute of breath work. I understand you don't have to like do it every time. Probably you want to go party and you want to have fun. Fine. I'm not saying it's wrong or right. It's none of my business to say that. What I'm just sharing is that if you are a kind of person who is more mindful and who probably is still thinking twice, and knowing that your body doesn't feel too good about certain things, then it's not a bad idea to just sit and breathe first
Just
and
give it a
then think of
chance
your
and then,
alcohol,
yeah.
think of your I mean, I'm not saying that because I know a lot of times doctors, whether it's alternate medicine, they don't say no to it. Why? Because if you're ready for something, it doesn't even matter. There are some, that there are some people who can take anything, consume anything in their body
But I
and
guess it's
still be
also a
healthy.
lot to do with emotions. Like, again, I guess the concept here is digestion. Like if you have a strong digestion for everything, for your emotions, for your thoughts, for the kind of foods, and then you accept it and then take it in, everything just flows so beautifully inside. You create blockages when you create that negative pattern within.
I agree. Is the light okay? Because I'm right in the
Yeah, yeah.
sunlight now and I can't really
So,
see my screen
yeah, yeah,
very.
that's all
So,
well.
yes, I completely agree on that because, nothing is outside. It's all a study. Wherever you have the choice, I would say one thing I would add to gut health is always breath work. And go by that because your breath work will start to become your anchor,
Hmm.
in taking decisions with your food choices and to keep you well. So just
That's
kind
a
of
very
get
nice
that in
tip.
balance.
I guess one
Yeah,
of the
because
biggest
that
takeaways
get
for the
that.
session today, for sure.
I see sometimes people myself when I see them, they say that they think they are hungry, and 2 hours they should eat. 2 hours they should eat. This.
Yes.
It could be a plan. It could be anything, but it's just a plan and may not suit you today, or it may be. And I'm very sorry. I don't mean to say one diet is right or one diet is wrong. The best diet is what you can find out for yourself that is working for you. And once you get that, if you work on those parameters with your nutritionist, for your gut, for with your doctors, you will recover much faster
Yes, I agree.
because you'll be upfront and you'll say, this actually doesn't suit me anymore. Why doesn't it suit you? Because maybe it's something you're allergic to or whatever that is. So, and I've,
Right.
I've, I've experienced all of that. So that's what I'm sharing. I've
That's
had
for sure.
a
We can
lot of
we can
things.
sense that it's all coming from experience only because these kind of talks you don't generally get, you don't get in the books or mentioned anywhere. It's all when you're experienced only you can talk about all these things.
I'm sharing this very deeply because gut health has been very important for me because after my third child in my early 40s, I got
Mhm.
something called hand dermatitis. I'd never had any dermatitis stuff. My body
Okay.
originally had dryness sometimes, but it was
Okay.
never to the extent of hand dermatitis, you
Okay.
know. And of course, I've undergone all my Ayurved cleanses and everything, and I'm way, way better and stuff. I realized it's not just about it is of course not about the dermatitis. It's the gut.
Gut. It's
And
the
my
gut. It's
gut,
showing. Yes.
and it's not just the gut, it's my emotions which are trapped in my
Emotions.
gut.
Exactly. I agree. It's all that
Completely
chain
everything
coming
gets
in from there.
trapped.
Yes. Yes.
See one thing, I'd love to add this too, that when you're born, you're nourished by the mother in the womb through that nabi.
Right.
Now everything that nabi takes in also includes your emotions, also includes what the mother is giving you as a emotion, what she's thinking of. The trauma
Hmm.
can come in. It can be so much for a child. Now,
Right.
what are you carrying through that life? Sometimes we know, right? People and children they don't have a good gut. They're very sensitive.
By birth only,
And
but for no
they
reason. Yes.
by birth, my little son he had eczema after 1 year. And
Okay.
and thanks to the study of yoga and Ayurveda, that I realized is so much karmic. And when I started to understand that, it helped me even so much more to accept
To bring
situations
about
in life.
healing also.
Yeah,
It
see,
supports
gut
healing.
is also a lot about acceptance to what life is giving you. You cannot
Right.
fight your past. You can only start to live and change what you can in the current moment.
Exactly.
So you're like having a fight with your own system all the time, punching your own
Exactly.
system.
And this is, I
No,
guess,
I
the
want this
biggest
to
gap.
get out.
This is the biggest gap,
So
the
who
way we
fills
look
that?
at gut today.
And who fills the gap? Food. Most of the people
Yes,
find food to fill up the
foods,
gap.
yes, and which does not actually fill in. You really have to, you yourself have to fill in the gap with your emotions starting to work right. So it all starts with your mind, I
And
believe.
that's where, yeah, and that's where the gut goes off, and then
Yeah,
you're suffering, and then
right.
it's a vicious cycle.
It's a
But
vicious
it's
cycle
just
for sure.
come so come to your breath for your gut healing, come to the breath, and it will help your healing faster. Then you don't have to continue to suffer. The moment you start to realize it, you will get all the possible help you can, I think.
So Gunjan, just help us quickly with some of the practices that you just mentioned, which can be really easy for all of us to practice, specifically for the one when those cravings are in front of you and you don't have a choice but to just either grab it or run away from the scene. So you just mentioned, focusing
Okay.
your,
So,
yeah,
so
so,
one thing, so one thing I'll say is what you can do is, I like to do that. Check which side of the nostril is active, firstly. I kind of feel into that a lot more. And I'm sorry, I
okay,
could be wrong, but this is what I've understood over the years. The right nostril clearly is about energy, receiving more energy, giving more energy. When your right energy nostril is more active, then that means you are more productive, energy wise. Also, your body can eat as well, your body can digest very well.
that's the
Now
cooling
if your
aspect,
left
if you're
is
right. Right nostril is the cooling,
no, right is the heating
heating,
aspect.
heating. Okay, okay,
Left is the cooling
is the
aspect.
cooling effect.
So when you're
Okay,
left, yeah. So
okay,
left is active, that's when you are more silent, and you'll have to notice the hours of the day, because our bodies are designed by the Creator amazingly. I mean,
right.
as much as I can thank, I don't know, how can I thank the Creator?
It's
It
such a micro
naturally
machinery,
knows
of course. Like,
exactly.
it's beyond biology and chemistry and science, whatever you talk about it. There's so much more that we still need to discover.
Absolutely. So when your left nostril, you is active, that's about either that you are tired, either it is about relaxation time. Notice in the hours of the day when these nostrils are more active and not, which is more
Okay.
active. And you'll
Okay.
be surprised, the hours of the day when you have your nostrils active are actually the hours of your food consumption and your liquid consumption as well.
Okay.
So don't start to defy that. If just in case your right nostril feels more active and you feel like eating, go have something to eat. It's not a bad idea, because you will be able to burn that energy.
Okay.
And
That
of
heating
course,
energy is there
if
to
you
kind of burn whatever goes in.
metabolize, yes, and
Okay.
also because you are not, and I don't mean to say if your right nostril is active, you eat anytime, every time your nostril is
No,
active,
no,
you
that
eat
that,
that
that would
time.
be kind of, against
Yeah,
whatever we
I
just
mean when the
discussed. Yeah.
enzymes, yeah, so when
Right.
the enzymes, when that it's all ready to release and everything, and you're ready for that acid is created in the body
Right.
and digestive system ready, right nostril is active, check, eat something. But if you are really hungry, and if you think your left nostril is more active at that time, and I'm saying you think that you're hungry, but you probably are not. It's just the
Internal
craving,
craving.
okay?
Okay.
Yeah, just check. Sometimes our body only needs water to help it.
Yes. That even
Simple,
modern science
plain.
recognizes, like, often hunger is
Yeah.
misunderstood as, sorry, thirst is misunderstood as hunger.
Yeah.
So
So
always reach
one of
out
the things
for
I would,
water first.
yeah, you can. You can reach out for water first, but not if you're very hungry. You have to eat. Eat. I'm
Yep.
saying that. But go mindfully by your nostrils. Just try. Give it a try and see, did that help you? And one of that is, the practices I would apply for my day to day. If How can I gauge? Now, also your timings. What else can I share with you guys? So I was sharing about the auric cleansing, and it's a very
Okay.
simple practice. And I think that's a practice when you can do 1 to 3 minutes every day. In Kundalini Yoga, when we do this practice, we just visualize all that needs to clear out, and I think a lot of people would love that at this point of time. So you just simply, take your arms up and cross them above your head like this. And your fingers are open and bit clawed, like lion's claws, and you inhale here. And as you exhale, you just bring your arms down like this. So I'll show you my arms going down a little bit. So you inhale and just exhale here. And you continue to repeat it then. Inhale and exhale. So I would say do this for 3 minutes and then visualize what is bothering you. Bring that into your field and start to clear the energy out and see how you feel after 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
It will firstly lighten up your solar plexus because this is where you're storing your emotions. It will help you with your gut because the minute you lift this, your whole diaphragm and your stomach area, everything comes into, everything is taken care of because it's interconnection, right?
Yes.
So you just simply inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale, and as you keep going, you will feel so much lighter that there's something shedding off you. But you have to try to experience it, not don't go by what I say.
No,
Okay,
definitely.
I
It's
had
as
one teacher say
do
that, and I love what he said. He said, don't trust what I say till you
experience it.
experience it for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. And then one simple movement of the spine, like you saw cat cow.
Yeah.
I love this fundamental movement. I give this to everybody because when your spine moves in a good way, your mind gets very refreshed. It's a automatic connection, right?
Recharge.
So when you're sitting on, yeah, recharge. So we'll have to go a little back and I'll show you so that you guys can see it better. So when you're sitting on a chair, my hands are on my knees. Yeah.
Yeah, we can
So
see
your
you.
hands are on your knees. Yeah. And then you just start. You inhale, go forward, exhale round your spine. And exhale. I'll show you from the side too. Just inhale, keep your chin at right angle. Now, sometimes when people have thyroid, I tell them to take the chin up. So work on your parathyroid gland.
Stimulation.
Yeah. So just this way. Again, few things I will always tell them. If you have a neck issue, I will tell them just keep your chin at right angle and just keep moving.
Okay. This is
And
also
from the
3 minutes
side,
of
if
a
you have to
practice.
see, yeah, do at least. I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening with my. So this is
Here
also
you're
three
visible, yeah.
minutes. You can do 1 to 3 minutes at least, and then you just go forward and back. So see my spine. You can see now it just rounds really a lot. Up. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Okay, and just these few, mindful practices like I've shared. And once you add them, do 1 minute. If you have just 1 minute, you can do 3 minutes, whatever time you get. And it, in my experience, then I've given it to people. I've given it to people when they're very angry, and I tell them to, how do I do this? Why? It's dimming, so it may just.
No, but you're visible. Okay, we can see you.
Okay. So no, here the screen is fading soon. I don't know why it's
Okay,
happening now.
okay.
So so
But all is good
so
at our
that's
end for
what I
sure.
would.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm glad. Why is it fading at my end? So
Okay.
when they have done this practice and I've given it to people, when they say I'm very angry right now in my office, and I really have to get out of this. I have to take a decision. And I would tell them, go onto your toilet seat and just sit and do this. Just start to move your body. What happens is your energy is so stuck. It's so stuck that you can't think clearly anymore. The minute you get yourself into some movement, which any form of yoga can help us with, it's just your body starts to release that stuck energy. And then you're more clear, your mind is fresh. And these movements which I've given today, even this movement, if you do 3 to 7 minutes a day, it becomes a moving meditation for you. So you will actually start to feel so much quiet and silence, and it's also fundamental movement for your Mooladhara. So when you start to move it, your confidence may start to change, especially people with back issues. This is a very common thing these days. You're sitting all day most of the time.
Right.
Not a lot of people are still able to move a lot, but if you just do these movements sitting on a bed, nothing else, you will see how your thought functioning starts to change. So try these two, three
That's
things, very subtle, not too many, because I have to be very sure what I'm giving in
no,
like a.
definitely. But so nice of you. These are some real practical tips that I guess are going to help all of us. So, Gunjan, one last thing, if anybody is interested in your classes or would want to experience what you've just told us, just help the listeners understand how they can reach out to you or what kind of classes you do if anybody gets interested.
Currently I'm offering regular classes in Kundalini Yoga, and I offer pranayam classes on Monday. And there is a whole list. They can actually go onto my page, Gunjan Amrit Kocha, and I can write it if you want here,
Yes, it's
and
written.
or we can put it later. Maybe for some people it's
You just
Gunjan.
send it out in the comment.
That's what I'm doing. Amrit. So yeah, that's my name, right? So you just have to
Okay.
go at my page and just get to my page, and then you will see the whole structure of my classes, the timings. I'm offering a program these days, especially for women, a Radiant Women program, which is every Wednesday, Thursday. We're already in the second week. We've done
Okay.
that. So I'm not sure if that's something I'll be open to right now since we've started. But weekend classes are also there.
Okay.
Anybody can join. You can take a one class drop in taster, not a free taster, I'm sorry, but I always do that because I not because of a reason, but every class is different in Kundalini. We like in even in other schools, you have different practices every time. We do different kriyas every time.
Okay.
And um, well, I think there's less to say and more to experience. So,
Experience, yes. I think I would just
so
want to
yeah,
kind of wind up everything with
it's tough.
that one. Yes, it's really tough to explain. It's more of an experience, and I guess you as a whole is more of experience rather than getting entangled into what is that one best thing that will work for me, or one best, food that was going to make a difference, or one that practice that will completely change me. It's all a myth. It's all about everything coming together and working with you and just making you
Absolutely.
flow with the flow, and that flow can be
Yes,
different for each one of us. So that's the individuality for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, great. Thank you,
Yes.
Gunjan, so much. I guess it was a very lovely session, and thank you so much for being there because I was just thinking, how do I get in touch with you? But some things just happened, and I just, kind of messaged you, and we just got in touch.
Thank you so
So,
much. Thank you so much. I'm able to share this on this platform.
no,
I'm
but it's
really
all our
grateful.
pleasure. So, great.
And
Thank you
yes,
so
if
much.
anyone
Yeah,
has questions, they can always send me message DM if they have any questions with Kundalini. And if
definitely. I
I'm
guess
able
this is
to
one.
answer,
I'm sure
if
you
I'm
will be
able
like,
to address them,
this
you know.
the science that you're dealing with is way beyond what is physical and what is material. So, which is way
No,
more
no,
powerful.
it's
Yeah. Okay.
all
Great.
grace.
So I
I say it's
guess,
all grace. Thank you.
yes. Thank you, Gunjan. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
everyone.
much.
Thank you for
Thanks.
joining.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you.